Step right up, it's time to hear the cleverest show of the year. AI catch up, brighter tone, every week in your living room.
Hello,
Hey, everybody. Hey, hello.
What's up, guys?
What's happening?
Welcome, everybody, to the AI catch-up. It's great to be back in the room with the team here.
For sure. It's been a crazy week, right? It's like, do you do AI catch-ups every day now as more and more things come out? I feel like it's been a particularly dense week, not just with new products, but just with the new things the older products are adding to them.
Yeah, there's so much new with the video models. I think we've blurred the line between what's real and what's artificial intelligence software. It's very exciting. I think today we're going to look at Claude. Is that the case, guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm ready to talk about Claude. For anybody that doesn't know, Claude is a large language model, much like ChatGPT or Gemini, and it's free to use. So if anybody has never heard of it, Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, Claude. Claude is from Anthropic. Guys, should we have a look at Claude? Should we show Claude?
For sure, right? I think, and I think it's so like ChatGPT. It reminds me when people were like, oh, Yahoo or Google, right? Or just some of the other search engines they'd start using. But I think people haven't dug into Claude. There's a lot of kind of differences depending on what they do. So glad we're doing this today, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. So Claude.ai, again, C-L-A-U-D-E.ai, Claude.ai. So with the AI catch-up, we started our own Gmail that we all have. And I'm just going to continue as the AI catch-up. So I've never signed into Claude. For anybody watching, if you wonder, this is a brand new account. It's a free account. We've never used this version of Claude before. The great thing is that all the guys on the team can use it together. If you see in the top left-hand corner, right, there's this square or rectangle that when you hover over it becomes an arrow. It pops out a history of your chats, right? There's the plus, or you can use, for Apple, you can use Command K to start a new chat. And then there's my old chats, which I have no previous chats because we're brand new. So let's make a new chat, right? And it says, good afternoon. If you wanted to, you could upgrade it, right? It's good to know that these things have upgrades. The free plan, which we're doing right now, you can chat on the web, on Apple and Android. You can get code for your computer projects and data. You can write things, edit things, and create content. It can use text and images, and it can search the web. So if someone's like, oh, it didn't used to, that's true, it didn't used to, but now it does. If you do want to get a pro account, which I don't have the Max account. Do any of you guys have the Max? Does Harvey have Max? I've got Pro.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I don't have Max either.
Yeah, so we've all got Pro, but we don't have Max. So this is a free account, but in our other accounts, we have the Pro version. The Pro version lets you get more usage, right? And then you can have projects, which is a great way to get instructions on the things you're doing. You get extended thinking, so you get more complex work. You can connect your Google Workspace, so I can pull in from email, I can pull in from my calendar and from documents. And it can use more Claude models, which is just more specific usage. If you wanted to, if you're part of a team and you wanted to pay the $140, you get more of the major features and your output limits are bigger. You can use Claude from your terminal. So if you're using code, if you're using like Python for example, and you're executing some kind of JavaScript code, you could connect the Claude artificial intelligence large language model right into that software window, the terminal. You can get advanced research if you're doing really big projects, and then new features. But that's just so people see what it is. What could we do, guys, to show what Claude can do? Like, let's just hit some of the buttons here. The plus button lets me upload a file, take a screenshot, or add from GitHub. Brooks, you'd be the guy to explain GitHub better than I would. What do you say about GitHub?
Okay, so GitHub's is a place where you can collaborate and store your code for any kind of software that you're creating, app, web app, whatever it is. But when you connect it into Claude, Claude can directly look at your code and make changes to it right there for you.
So, funny fact, I've learned this, that a hub is like a place where things gather, but that Git, I always thought it had some kind of technical meaning. It's just a British expression for some old geezer, and the guy that made the software, it's like calling an old guy, he called it Git. That there's no actual like technical name. That was confusing for me. For a long while, I thought Git meant something, but it doesn't.
Yeah, the guy that made Linux made Git, and he's very opinionated.
Yeah, just so anybody gets confusing, they're like, "What's a Git?" That's the point. Is it's just nothing. So the plus button lets you upload a file, take a screenshot, or add from this company that hosts computer code. So people publicly share computer code for their projects. Sort of like, how do I get my calendar integrated with my wallet? Someone made a program patch for that. You can sort of share it, collect it, and then integrate with that. So that's the plus button. Then there's the search and tools. You can use different styles, and you can use web search. So if you don't want it to search the internet, you can toggle it off. If it's on, it's blue. And then there's normal styles, concise styles, explanatory styles, formal styles. And then there's create and edit styles. Michael, you were talking about this. You've got experience with this?
Yeah. So you can create your own styles or personas where you instruct the AI to essentially act as an individual and give you advice as that individual. So you can add a writing example and then include instructions. So we can experiment with it right now, if you would like.
Sure. I didn't have one ready because this was something you knew about. If I add a writing example, it wants me to upload or paste in text. Okay, great. Yeah. What should we say?
Let's act as Tony Soprano. Act as Tony Soprano. Speak in the first person. Provide wisdom as if you are Tony Soprano. With regard to the outputs that you provide.
Okay.
Use rhetorical flourishes that embody his personality and his spectrum of emotion.
You're going deep on this one, Michael. Look at this.
Don't be afraid to berate me or reward me for my inputs. All right.
Okay. Create style. So we've definitely had some fun with it to see if we can get it to break free from what you might expect from some of these softwares. Now, I'm going to guess, Michael, that I don't always have to have this mode that I've chosen.
Yeah, this is just one of... All right, so they called it Soprano Wisdom.
Okay. So my options are to rename it, delete it, edit it manually. I can preview an example with a short story, an email, a product review. Let's look at product review, right? And this is a volatile yet philosophical and charismatic communication style reminiscent of Tony Soprano. So we're going to say, write a product review for wireless headphones. That was generated by the computer. All right. It's freaking this and forget about it. And it's a bit of a cartoon or a caricature, capiche, but it certainly did it, right? It certainly showed up in character. So let's use that style.
All right. Maybe write a prompt asking it to give you a business analysis of a deli shop or something like that.
Okay, so there's a model here, right? We're kind of playing, but we'll show some real things too. Claude Sonnet. Well, the funny thing is when you zoom in too much on these softwares and then click on a feature, it's hard to get the zoom to change. You can see that there's Claude Opus, which is a pro model. It's powerful for complex challenges. And there's Sonnet 4, it's the latest and greatest. And there's more modules, which is the previous versions of 3.5, 3, and 3.7, but we've moved past it. So the lower numbers are the ones that are from before, and then higher numbers are from now. So currently the free version has the highest version. So I'm not certain that I've got the Tony Soprano voice going on this one. I might not have selected the voice.
Yeah, you have to select the persona.
Okay, well, this is good. I just want people to see that the difference with Claude from ChatGPT is that Claude populates this menu on the right-hand side, right? Look at this great thing here. It's got a lot of good structure, that it's bold, it's bullets, it's headings. It's nice and clean to read, right? We've obviously taken a fictional example just to give you an idea. We're going to analyze a deli shop, right? What I can do, right, I could copy this if I wanted to. In the top right-hand corner, it says copy. Again, with the zoom, pardon me, guys. When you change the zoom and you use these windows, it looks funny. But I can download it as Markdown. So Markdown is that it'll bold, change the font size and bullet. Or I can save it as a PDF, which was cool. So I'll do that. And it shows me, if I wanted to save it as PDF, what it will look like. So if you say, well, how do I send this to people? This is how you'd save it as PDF. That's cool. And then the other button is publish. All right. Now, if I publish and copy the link, right, I can copy that link. Now I could go and view it on the web. I could give that to someone as like a miniature website. It's pretty cool. And if you wanted to, you could unpublish it. So if you only wanted it up for a day or so, you could click unpublish. Now, am I able to change the style here? Here we go. So that was a normal style. I could switch over to Soprano Wisdom. And David, you know I like to make brief prompts. What would be the brief prompt so that we get the next version of this?
Right, because I did love what you showed me yesterday with brief prompts. So we're letting it do its thing.
Try again, but now you've already selected the persona.
Yeah, so I clicked the persona. I've used that search and tools button. We'll just say try again.
I like that.
Okay. So we saw it was fairly straightforward. And now we're seeing some personality. So if you're making an Italian deli menu and you wanted to have a little personality with it, you know, look at the personality. Now listen up, because I'm only going to say this once. Right? And then it's fictitious, so we don't have to read too far into the details of it, right? But they're telling you the real chains from Subway to Jimmy John's, and you know how the business of a deli runs on food sales, catering, and retail. But it's written in a persona. We're being comical on purpose, but the idea is that if you have a voice for your organization, for your business, that you can get it. I mean, Michael, you did that in about 45 seconds, let's say.
Yeah, that was pretty fast.
It was pretty fast.
Other use cases are you creating personas of real business folks that are very successful, and then taking their business strategies and taking their thought, like their published thoughts, and the AI can search the web and knows kind of like the personalities of these people. So if you create that persona, then you can get an analysis. You know, so that's like from a business standpoint. But if you want to have a creative writer, if you want to take a very famous writer and create a persona around their work, and then so your outputs reflect the writing style of that individual, that might be something to do. The same thing with any type of media content. If you want somebody who's a great educator, you create a persona around that educator and their published work, so that the outputs reflect their teaching style. So it might be great for educating kids. So anyway, there's a lot of use cases for the personas, and then they're stored there and you can select between them.
So what I've said here is help me craft the persona for a very specific business advisor. Tighten that period in there. And I've asked it to list the top 5 people who would be both helpful, and there's a lot of info on the web to give you the details to make the voice work. I'll use this prompt to make a Claude persona. All right, if anybody wants to pause this or screen capture that and give it, go for it. So,
did you select web search? So just in case, well, anyway.
Yeah, web search was on. Thank you. So my choices, and I could tell it to choose again and again until I like it. What does the room think? Who should we be? Who should we be here?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Okay, great. So I'll say, make the Warren Buffett persona prompt for Claude. Right? And again, these are minimal prompts. You really don't need to go 700 words on these things. So this came, like, the tool itself is doing what it needs to do. It's going to be Warren Buffett. I wonder if this is too much information for the Claude window. Do you guys know that?
No, I think it's good. I think you could take that and throw it into persona.
Wow, I would have thought it would be 100 words. So I'm going to use the copy button in the top right-hand corner. Copy, right? And then I'm going to hit the new chat. I'm going to search the tools. I'm going to use the style, create and edit styles, create custom style, add writing example, paste text context, and I'm just going to hit paste. So, wow, look at that. What a robust prompt. We're going to create the style. It's going to analyze my writing. Now, see, some of these things I'm learning while I'm learning with you guys. I've used these tools, but I've not used that specific version of it. Oh, no, where'd it go? Oh, my goodness. You think it's there?
Yeah.
Omaha Sage. Amazing. So now I'm going to go over to my chats, right? The comprehensive deli business analysis. So we tried it as Tony Soprano, which is kind of comical. But now I'm going to go to this search bar at the bottom. I'm going to click this search and tools. I'm going to click use style. And I'm going to click Omaha Sage, which is Warren Buffett, the very famous investor. And what we told it before was try again. So we'll say that again. Try again.
Let's try something different. Let's analyze Tony Soprano's take and pressure test it against Warren Buffett's advice. And so you would take Warren Buffett and have him analyze Tony Soprano's output. So we're not just trying again. We're actually using personas against each other, and so if you had two different business advisors, you would get one's take on another's output.
That's really smart, Michael. Do you think we should do Tony, then Warren, and then the pressure test? Or should we just go right from Tony to Warren's pressure test?
Yeah, actually, when you act as a persona, the persona is going to act as Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett is going to essentially analyze Tony's take.
Okay, let's do that. So we're going to say analyze Tony's take and pressure test it against the Omaha Sage. So for clarity, we've intentionally made a silly business persona to get a silly look at a deli. And then we've said, let's take a real business persona and see the difference. The value of this is for anybody that has more than one ideal customer. You can say, how does my message show up for each customer? And now it's speaking as if it was Warren, and humorously it says his favorite beverage. He's in his favorite chair with a cherry Coke. Right? And it gives some of Warren Buffett's principles, the psychology, a principle from Warren Buffett. Right? The real story, the reality check, the analysis. This is great, Michael, that you've thought to say, take one personality and then weigh it in against the other. Because what you've done is you've taken it to a whole other level here. Now, Brooks, I know you teach a module on Claude. You teach a bit more of an advanced module as well.
Yeah, so on the Catch-Up site, we have a new course. It's Claude, but the desktop version of Claude, and then a protocol they made called MCP. And MCP allows you to connect a bunch of other things into Claude. It gives you some superpowers. For instance, I have a version of a Claude MCP that they can send messages through WhatsApp, or it can open a browser and take screenshots and see what the browser is seeing while you're searching. But there's just a ton of tools there, and that's why there's the whole course around that. And then we'll have a beginner's course uploaded pretty soon on Claude as well.
So for anybody that didn't know, you can use WhatsApp on your desktop. And the reason you'd want to do this is because you have groups. David, you're in a lot of groups and you communicate with a lot of people. Do you use WhatsApp with the Witty Corporation? Do you guys have groups inside WhatsApp?
Not really. We have a couple like internally for our internal leadership teams, but we're launching our app. It's pretty much done that we created with a lot of vibe coding and through AI, which will be on another show. So we are going to have groups within that. So before we kind of start all the things on WhatsApp, we're using that for now. So not yet, but look, I think with WhatsApp, I've seen a lot of communities now. It's a bit overwhelming, to be honest, especially if you're speaking with individuals using WhatsApp. Into some groups, there's just way too many things coming through. So
yeah,
I have to find a way to manage that.
The key takeaway, though, is that you can use WhatsApp on the desktop, whether you're chatting with your friends, with your colleagues, with your coworkers. Right. So WhatsApp is available on your desktop. And what Brooks is saying is that there's a way to connect the Claude artificial intelligence software to things like WhatsApp. And then it's using this new protocol called an MCP. And you can automate workflows. Brooks, what are some examples of workflows that you can automate that might go through WhatsApp? And that's just the start. It's more than just WhatsApp.
Well, Brooks, you're on mute. But so could I then use something like you're going to talk about, Brooks, to maybe merge our WhatsApp chat with another chat system I may have with an MCP?
Yeah, absolutely. So an example use case of this would be get all of the group chat. So say you're in the Brain Juice group chat and you want to get all of the links for the last 7 days. So it would go there, it would grab all the links for the last 7 days, and then you can have another MCP connected. Maybe it's going to your social media or another group chat that you have in a different platform, or maybe you can connect to an email, and then you can say, then send me send all of these links out as an email to my group.
Incredible.
So things like this, I know it's a complex set of steps, but I think you walk people through. So Claude's giving us the answer, right? To go to your email server, your chat platform, collect the data, extract the links, aggregate them, distribute the email, you configure the servers, and you teach people how to do all of this, right?
Yes.
And if I understand it correctly, once this is done, you're not paying anyone any money, but you've created a workflow that when you get messages with links, you can email the group all the information.
Yeah, and so with Claude Desktop, it's not automated. You still need to interact with the chat, but there are some other, and another topic we'll talk about N8N, which can allow you to do a bunch of other things automatically with some bots. But with Claude, for instance, every time you ask, you still have to prompt it for that question, and you have to ask and tell it, what you want it to do. So you could put it on a timer, though. You could say every day at 8 a.m., I need you to do this, Claude, and it will do that. But it uses another version of Claude called Claude Computer. It's similar to the desktop app, but it has the same sort of setups and connections. And so in that course, it also goes through Claude Computer as well.
Okay, cool. So you can show people how to do that. And what you're saying is once you've set it up once as a task, it will continue to do that.
Yes. And then you can talk to it in natural language, right? So you don't need to send in, there's not the one needs outside of the initial setup that is somewhat technical, although it's distilled down into some pretty easy steps now. Once that's there, everything else is just natural language. You can talk to databases and pull stuff directly out of databases and stick it into other places. I mean, it allows you to talk to all these computer languages that you normally wouldn't have talked to normally, just with human language as opposed to specific kind of syntax or things like that.
So basically, if I had a company and I had a couple hundred employees, and inside there was a group chat, would it be possible to use Slack?
Yes. So you could use Claude as your intermediary between WhatsApp and Slack. You're like, oh, I need to get. Maybe you're trying to find a link that was in Slack that you couldn't find, because Slack can get overwhelming as well when you're looking for stuff, and it goes and grabs it, and then now that it's there, now you can do something with it. I've started using Claude as a good front end search engine for a lot of different things with the MCPs because of that, especially WhatsApp.
So I'm just picturing how this works, because these are very, very new things. These technologies and protocols, they're new in the last, I would say, 90 days. Is that true?
Yeah.
So within the last 90 days, groups, 50 people in your company, 250 people in your company, you say, we've got all these people, guys, and then we've got all this information on our channels. I would love a way to just filter it. And you're telling me that your course teaches people how to use this method. And then once it's set up, the people who use it don't need to be technical. They just have to type plain English and say, take the information, summarize it, and bring it over here. But it's not pulling from the web. It would be pulling from my chats.
Exactly.
That's really cool. Like, I know, Brooks, on our Brain Juice, you gave us a demonstration, and I watched it, and I said, I'm glad you had the patience to go through and learn how to do that, because to just go out into the wild alone and try to learn that, it's a tremendous lift.
Yeah, they didn't make it as easy as I would have liked for most users. But there is definitely some steps to it. But once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty straightforward, and the utility you get from it is just incredible.
Yeah, and again, using it for Slack channels and using it for WhatsApp is just like a start point. You can use it for emails. You can use it for news. Pretty much anytime some information piles up or pools somewhere, you can use this bridge to go get it and make sense of it and send it somewhere else.
Yeah, there's 10,000 plus MCP servers, as they call them now. It's only been around since January, just maybe November at the earliest.
So what, in that context, what does a server mean? Because when someone tells me there's a server, I think of like a refrigerator-sized box of computer parts, and I go, okay, but then what?
So the server is like the thing that's giving you the information. So when you visit a website, you're visiting a server, and your browser is the client. So in this case, Claude Desktop is the browser client, and all of the different MCPs are websites that can do different things. MCPservers.org is another location that has just a ton of different of those types of services and servers that you can download. I'll present that here in a moment. But what makes it really, I think, the most powerful is the fact that people are just building on top of this like really fast right now, and it's really hard to keep up because of how quickly things are changing.
So what you're saying is there's about 10,000 essentially tools or websites that can interact with this MCP that you're teaching, the module you've taught that's available on AICatchup.live.
Yes. And just basic things. Let's look at productivity, for instance. See if there's anything interesting in here that would make the most sense to people. You can interact with Notion directly, Xero's an accounting platform, Apple Notes directly. You can then start creating Apple shortcuts within the MCP, which gives you all kinds of different things. You can turn your lights off in your house if you wanted to.
And then, am I paying like 1 penny every time I do this?
No, you're not paying anything for the MCP. Unless the person that you're using it from charged you for it, but more than likely they didn't. And it's not charging you anything extra than what you would normally be using when you're interacting with Claude. Claude does have a limit on how many messages you can do per minute, per hour, per month. But they're pretty generous based on the paid for tiers. And I have yet to hit the limit when using MCPs with that.
Okay, wow. So with the free account, I can use it. With the $20 account, you're saying that you've yet to hit the wall.
Yes.
And then this MCPservers.org has listed the different categories for scraping the web, for communication, and more.
Yeah, there's just so much in here. I was just looking to see if there's anything that might just be relevant to everyday stuff. A lot of this is
11 labs.
Yeah, 11 labs let you convert.
Can we click view details? What happens if I hit view details?
It gives you the instructions, and of course there's a little bit of code in here that you need to copy paste into your Claude desktop. But again, the course goes through all of this on how to do this.
So let's look at that. It gave some examples there. A little bit higher up, it said one more node up. One more up. This says their example usage. So it says warning that you need 11 lab credits. But just to understand this, you could ask Claude, once this bridge has been built, to create an AI agent that speaks like a certain persona and can answer questions about movies, or 3 voice, and then 11 Labs is a voice software. So I would hear the voice of what sounds like a person who takes my recordings and turns them into a medieval knight or more.
Yes.
And so it's doing the work. I don't even have to know how to use 11 Labs software. I just have to say, I want this. Cool.
Right.
That's really cool. Like I know you've dug into the MCP, but I have not. I've watched you do it, and then I'm sort of going, I should learn this. PayPal, Perplexity. Okay.
And the Perplexity one is interesting because when you have that one turned on, Perplexity is another ChatGPT like Claude like
Let's
application.
click the details. Click the details and then show us their example, if you would.
And it's I would say that the best use case that I've seen for Perplexity is really for like research. I thought there would be an example section in here, but I guess there's not.
Okay.
Well, the way that I use it is I tell Claude to remember that Perplexity is there, and if you get into a question that you don't know about, ask Perplexity, and the Perplexity will give you the answer. And then vice versa, then you can say on the Perplexity side, have it ask Claude, so they can just talk back and forth to each other while you're doing your chats.
Wow.
And then you give that as a top instruction once, or you give it each time you think about it?
I give it as a top instruction once, just so that it remembers that it has an option there to use, and then it starts using it when it needs to.
Wow, I got to get on this, Brooks. I got to tell you, I'm learning right now. Like, sometimes it feels like a conceit of the YouTube show that we've set it up. You know this? Wow, I don't. But there are so many new tools. These are things in the last 90 days. There's been new Gemini models. There's been new Claude models. There's been VO3. There's been new stuff with Notebook, new stuff with Napkin, plus lives and family and work. Like, there's so much to catch up on that I'm grateful to even just be a part of the catch up, because legitimately, we don't need to plan a conceit of like, now you pretend like you don't know this, because there's dozens and dozens of new softwares that they're just a marvel.
Yeah. I mean, last week we caught up about Claude last Friday. That was a quick impromptu thing right when Claude came out, and we started immediately making games.
Yeah, you made the Candy Crush clone. I looked this up today with David. Candy Crush did $20 million as a video game, and then sold $20 billion with a B. Let me correct that, $20 billion, and then sold for I think $5.9 billion. And Brooks, you recreated it in about 17 words.
Yeah, I'll present it again. It was kind of crazy how quickly it made this, but it made this. It's also the kind that can run out of phone, so it's responsive.
Right.
But it works. And this was 17 words, like you said, and it built it in about 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I didn't change anything.
Right.
I'm going to see if I can quote. I think I've got on this version of Claude on mine. I can quote what you said. You said the prompt was create a clone of Candy Crush. So it was very basic. It said this needs to be very visually engaging and look amazing and be really fun to play.
I have an idea. What if we created a Candy Crush clone, but we used deli meat? Because we did a deli analysis earlier, and see if Claude will just generate one shot for us right now.
Let's try it.
That's interesting.
Let me see if I can do that on the ketchup Claude.
Do you find, Michael, when you're putting your different experts in, it seemed like the Tony Soprano one was kind of customized, the prompt. Do you have kind of a prompt template? So if it's any type of like expert in marketing, you can just change the names, then have like regular Claude or even like a ChatGPT rewrite the prompts and just stick them in?
So I do what Brad does, which is I use Claude to generate a prompt, but then I will go in there and give it explicit instructions if I don't like certain things. Like I'll tell it to be creative, use certain styles that I know that I want to see and in the output.
Cool.
So that was Brooks' original prompt. And I added, we use deli meats as the icons.
It's called
And they're saying
Deli
they're
Crush.
creating a visually stunning deli crush, right? So when I zoom out, for those of you who don't understand code, good thing Claude does, right? And it's giving you all the functions and the rendering and the game board and the hypertext markup language, the constants and the else if else functions and swapping values, returning things if they're true, returning things if they're false, calculating the score on the match size and combinations, animating matching cells. It's amazing what these things do, matching the length, right? It's creating different styles for left and right and top, the colors, the content. We, for the record here, did not type in anything. And now, what do we have? What foods do you guys see here?
Bacon. It
Steak,
looks like
steak.
a sandwich, steak, hot dog.
Right? How silly is this? And now I'm just learning how to play the game. You line things up in threes. So I click the sandwich, and then this ham bone, and then boom. 3 things line up and the game plays. Sandwich and hot dog. Look at that, my score went up to 70. Like, this is super cool. How fun is this? And then I could publish this like Brooks did, and then I could publish and copy the link. And then if I pop the link in over here, now I could send this out to people and they could play the game of Deli Crush. It's amazing what's happening on these softwares. And it's so good to be on the catch up because we all know it takes a community effort to stay up to date on these softwares. It really, really, really does. In addition to what you used to do in 40 hours, there are 40 main softwares that are releasing things constantly.
And a million other startups that are all out there trying to create new things too. So, I mean, it's constant.
Yeah, and we use comical examples to catch your attention, but in practicality, David, you and I had a call yesterday. We took your corporate website and we ran the same process through. We used information from your existing website and a screenshot, and then we said, okay, and what the output was an improved version of the way you sell your services. That people don't just understand the options, they understand the impact of the options on them. How do I receive this information? How does it improve what I do? So don't be fooled by us using silly Tony Soprano and Deli examples. We're doing that just for fun. There's a high functionality here to improve the way you use sales copy, to improve your websites, to improve the way you flow information across your organization. And we're very happy at the AI Catch-Up to help you do that. Reach out through the AICatchup.live website. Brooks has great learning modules. You can learn from him. He's an absolute wizard at these things. Guys, it's great learning Claude with you guys.
Yeah, it's great to catch up, guys.
Hopefully Dr. Harvey can join us next week. He was at an appointment, a meeting, that is to say. The catch-up will be back for anybody that has input on what they would like to see on the AI catch-up. If you have a software that you want to learn, that your organization or your team needs to learn, and you want a learning module created, even one that's just for your organization, do reach out through the AI Catch-Up website. We're very happy to help you guys catch up. It's fun for me, and I think it's great for the team. Super excited to be here again, guys.
Great show today. I learned so much too. It's just amazing. The 3 of you, I think I know things, and then the little things, right? So I think number 1 message with the AI Catch-Up and tell your friends is people can start from anywhere, and just bringing that brand new, fresh perspective is. They're going to see things we haven't even seen in many cases, right? So, yeah, it's great.
All right, guys. Talk to you next week.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Step right up, it's time to hear the cleverest show of the year. AI Catch-Up, brighter tone every week in your living room.